first movie that I wanted to talk about is The Woman King. So, uh, uh, from your perspective, because I brought this up to you last minute, and you watched it a few times, but you've seen things that really touched you. So, what were those things?
Excuse me. Well, first off, I always want to start everything off by saying all praise be to Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, and peace and blessings be upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family and his companions, and all the Muslims around the world. But yeah, I watched it. I sat there and made sure I broke down each detail of it. And something that stood out to me as far as one of the key points that the movie was making, I don't know if everybody else caught it, but it was the trauma and how trauma affects your life in a major way to where it starts to dictate your decision making. Because see, if you look at the main character, the head general, she was running off her trauma from being kidnapped at a young age, being raped, and being taken away from her family, having a baby, and then giving that baby up. So she done decided to say, if you want to be a warrior in this right here, you can't get married, you can't have no children, you just giving your life to the kingdom and for the warrior tribe. That's it, and that's all. Based on what she been through, but that didn't take away from her being a great general as far as her warfare strategy. So a lot of times our trauma pushes us in directions to become greater individuals at whatever we dive into.
Right.
So even taking it, for example, looking at the street life, me growing up, being an angry kid, but not understanding that I was actually angry and why I was angry pushed me to the streets and to that violent lifestyle, to becoming to wanting to excuse me, becoming the type of person who was willing to commit acts of violence. So when I was out there getting involved in the things that I was involved with, it made it look like, damn, he just a natural. He just do this so easily. His squabble game is up to par. He has no problem with busting the pistol. Like he just spectacular.
Right.
Not realizing that this is coming from a place of pain, a place of anger, but I don't know how to release this in a healthy manner. So I'm releasing it in the fashion of, okay, I'm gonna go out here and hurt other people because I'm hurting. And it's the same thing with the movie with her. She's so much of a great warrior, but she been through so much of her life. That pain there, that trauma there, to where it's pushing her forward to be a magnificent warrior. To where she like, I'm not gonna be your victim. So when you step in the arena with me, I'm gonna show you that I took the time to educate myself on warfare. I took the time uh to physically get myself ready to make sure when you step against me this time, I'm gonna be the one to come on top. And it's the same thing in the hood. When you get your bike stolen, when you get jumped by the kids around the corner, when your big brothers are beating you up, you like, nah, I'm not gonna be the victim no more. You know what? I'm fit to train the strategies of war. I'm fit to get my hands up, and I'm fit to be the person that's willing to go the distance that you're not willing to go. And she rolls up the ranks doing that in the movie, and that's something that I paid attention to. But like I said, I'm gonna circle back around to that trauma and how that trauma not only affects you, but it affects the people around you, because she started pushing it on her soldiers. And you can see it in the eyes of the soldiers that they wanted relationships. The other one, she talked about like love, like, no, you don't need it. But at the same time, you see it in her eyes, like at one point in time, she loved someone, but she had to cut that out in order to be a real warrior for the tribe. And then the young one, she was just reacting as a normal human girl attracted to a man. And it can't understand like why we can't have families. What's going on with that? How is that going to affect me doing my job if I'm having a family? But the men can have families, but why can't I have a family? But not knowing that your leader is running off trauma. So she cutting out all of that so y'all could just focus on putting in work whenever it's time to do it. So it just circled back around to the street life. You focus on the hood so much to where you neglect your family, you neglect your woman, because your woman, she wants you at home, and you telling her, nah, I'm finna go ride with the homies.
All right.
So your priorities become messed up by your trauma.
Right.
You feel me? But having that young lady there, which turned out to actually be her daughter in the end, and circled back around fully, it started to open her up to different possibilities. You know, she started to see things differently, and that's how life usually happens if you're able to live long enough to witness
Right. Right. And to circle back around to that trauma you was talking about, she took it upon herself to defy the king's orders in order to face that trauma. And I feel like in life, not just in the hood, but in life, in order to push past any trauma, you will have to a lot of times separate yourself from those who were just giving you that band-aid and not truly helping you to heal. You know what I'm saying? Or those who was pretty much neglecting your trauma because it's not theirs, you know. And
it.
as
Yeah,
far as young dudes in the streets, if you want to push past your trauma, you got to separate yourself from your peers a lot of times. You know, for other people, they might have to separate themselves from their family in order to face that trauma. If they double back, they double back. But she defied the king's orders because she like, nah, I gotta go face this head on, regardless of what you're talking about. This dude is the reason why I'm losing sleep. He's the reason why I'm dysfunctional. He's the reason why I even turned out the way that I turned out. You know, he's the reason why I can't live with myself. So nah, I'm about to go face this head on. And she did it. You know what I'm saying? And not only that, she had to make amends with her daughter by rescuing her, whereas before she gave her up. So she like, nah, I can't allow her to just get taken this time. I gotta go forward, you know. So I liked it that part, and I also liked it when she came back and gave and sought mercy from the king after defying his orders. And when he spoke to the people, which is the reason why I wanted to, touch on this movie in the first place. When he spoke to the people, he said the Europeans and Americans have came to believe that if you want to keep a people enslaved, you must first convince them that they are meant to be bound. And that right there made me emotional when I was watching it in prison because I'm like, I always said, like, man, I helped these motherfuckers take me down. I helped them take me down, with the ignorant shit that I was doing. So when he said that in the movie, it resonated. This is a movie, historical fiction that was based on true events way back in the early 1800s, but yet and still, I felt it in today's times. And
yeah,
when he said that, I'm like, man, I bounced up and I told my celly, I said, man, you heard that? He said, what? I said, nigga, that's us in the hood. I said, we believe we are meant to be bound. Like, going to jail, that's expected. And it's accepted as well. You know, you and the rest of our brothers, y'all made it seem like going to jail was the thing to do. I see you come home, you got a smile on your face. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, it's nothing. We gonna go to jail, get our bars up, and come right back out. But we have convinced ourselves we are meant to be in chains. We look at homie suspect when a nigga done put in enough work, and we like, hold on, why you ain't did time yet? Something wrong.
yeah,
So
yeah,
when I
yeah.
read,
Real talk.
yeah, when I read that, I mean, when he said that, it really touched me. And then he said we have joined them in our own oppression because way back when they was knocking each other down and selling each other off to the white man. In these times, we are knocking each other down and selling each other out to the powers that be. So it was like it's no different, and that's why I wanted to touch on this movie and movies from here on out because I understand from my life experience, from my knowledge and my understanding of the academic standpoint for screenwriting that it all resonates no matter what context the
Yeah,
storyline is set in. Human
yeah,
traits tie in no matter what part you look at in the world, but we're tying it into our background. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. Touching on that, as far as we help them, we whoever they are, because today is different. America is not what it used to be as far as the face of it. Back then it was more so, if you're European, if you're white, you in. You're American. You're somebody that's accepted. But today it's more so they say you're not American
Right.
if you don't think like them.
Right.
You feel me? It ain't even about your color no more. It's all about your thinking now. If you don't think like us, you're un-American.
Right.
You feel me? So those of us who are involved in the street life, we don't think like the powers that be in the government. So they say we're un-American, we're savages. You feel me? So why give them any type of consideration when it comes to leniency? Which is understood, don't get me wrong, because the way that we was operating, I know for me, for sure, I was a savage.
Right.
And I would have just killed people, robbed people, and all of those different things if you allowed me the opportunity and the time to.
Right.
All praise be to God. I got set down in a box to where I was able to take a look at my life from a realistic standpoint and see where I was going wrong. Being snatched out of them streets at such a young age, it gave me that opportunity to say, okay, maybe I can do something differently. I start to discover aspects about myself. But the only way that you can discover these different aspects about yourself, you got to be placed in a different environment from what you used to. You got to be placed in a different type of pressure cooker than what you used to,
Right.
in order to extract all of them juices up out of you, where you can see like, man, this is special. You feel me? So being caged in that box, it did something to me. See, it always get worse before it get good. So I was getting worse being in that box, because it's a different type of jungle with the same animals, but these animals are a little more vicious. You feel me? They surviving on a whole nother level, because it's not all about your physicality no more. It ain't all about, well, I'll get them up with you. Or you know what, I'll pull out this pistol and take your life. No,
Nah,
now it's
yeah,
all
it's a
mental
thinking
game.
man's game.
Yeah, yeah. Now how can you survive in this jungle by using your mental? And that was something right there that I wasn't used to doing. Strategizing on the block, that's nothing. You feel me? Because we know where they at, we know who they are, and I'm willing to go do the dirt. But being in there, you have to really figure out your opponent, for a lack of a better word, because we all in the same struggle, but yet we feel like we all against each other.
And not
And we
only
feel
that,
like that's the right way to be.
right. And your enemy is 20 inches away. It ain't like I can be at home until I'm ready to bounce out and pull up on him. He right next door. At least your let's say your potential enemy. He's right next door. So it's more critical than on the streets. On the streets, most dudes from my throughout my career, most dudes was not willing to stab on the streets. They'll shoot you from across the street. They'll probably even run up on you, right? But stabbing, that personal, they ain't even gonna bother with it. You know what I'm saying? It's too personal. Whereas in the pen, that just symbolizes the level of savagery that it is, because motherfuckers getting stabbed left and right, day and night, in the cell, outside the cell, gambling, knocked in his neck, tossed up under the stairs, thrown in the closet, whatever. Like, and this is daily. And dudes go about their day still sipping wine and eating burritos as if nothing happened. So
And see, no, I'll fit to circle back around to what we was talking about, which is helping them in our oppression,
right,
because that's all that contributes to that. Sitting there getting high all day, putting that influence on the next man. Look, man, go on and take a sip of this, which is destroying his mental, destroying his bodily functions. Man, take a little smoke of this. So now he can't even think straight. All he can think about is savagery. All he can do now is be manipulated by the person that's next to him, that's a little 10 times sharper than him. Or we fit to go out here and start this war up with these individuals because he didn't pay me $50. You're just continuing the cycle that those who are against us, and it's a lot of them that are against us because we come from two different lifestyles, we on two different sides of the fence, they loving it. We're contributing to it. But to us, we thinking like, yeah, we doing the right thing. You know, this is how it's supposed to go because this is what was laid down. We think that this foundation that we standing on, just because it's a foundation, is solid. All foundations ain't solid. Some foundations got cracks in it. Some foundations got holes in it. Some foundations ain't even made out of concrete. It's made out of sand. So you slipping every time you walk. But we too ignorant to recognize that we standing on sand and we slipping while we walk, and we ain't understanding, while we slipping, we just gonna say, I'm gonna just walk a little firmer and make sure I don't slip as much as I'm slipping. As the next man, he's slipping more than me in the sand. I'm gonna make sure I'm not slipping as much as him in the sand. Instead of saying, you know what, let me trade in this sand for solid ground. And how do I go about doing that? Because like circling back around to, it's a thinking man's thing. So in order for you to get off this sand and get to this concrete, you got to think your way through this maze. The concrete is over there. The sand is what you already own. So how do you make it across this sand to get to this concrete? Now, here's the tricky part. As long as you're willing to walk on sand, you good. You ain't going to have as many obstacles as you would have if you try to get to this concrete. Now, once you try to get to this concrete for a different life, now you got quicksand that you running into. You're starting to sink in that now. You got to watch out for that. Now you got different animals you're running into, different snakes and different scorpions you're running into. Now you're dealing with different weather and climates and all of those type of things. And this is not realistic as far as physical. We just speaking more so from a standpoint of like metaphorical. You feel me? Like these are the things you're gonna be running, these type of obstacles, bro. It gets harder. Now the storms are coming because you're thinking about something different. But if you want to continue to operate a dysfunction, you're going to be able to do this with ease because it's easier to do the wrong thing than to do the right thing. The right thing is harder because less people travel that road. Less people travel the road of, you know what, this is stupid. I'm going to take action on my own life and I'm going to stop contributing to the problem. I'm going to start contributing to the solution. And that's what the king was able to wake up to. See, one thing I liked about that king, right, was the fact that he was willing to think. Even when she defied him, in the end, and he embraced her back, he had to make a decision to do that because what was laid down was, you're the king, she defied you, she deserves to be punished. But somewhere in his mind, he sat back and thought about the action she took, and he said, you know what, that was a good move right there, so I'm gonna give her a pass. So that showed me he was a thinker.
Right. And that's
you feel me?
That's,
he didn't just say,
no, go ahead.
No, I would just say, he didn't just say, well, these are the rules and this is it and this is what I'm going to hold on to. You got to get an issue. No, he said, you know what? In that particular moment, she did something that helped us get further. So I know what the rules say I'm supposed to do as a king, but at the same time, I am a king and I have the final say so. So with me having this type of power, I'm going to choose to use this for the betterment of my people and see if I can let this slide and see if I can still be looked at as somebody who has control and is dominant and will still be respected. And did she do this out of she doesn't respect me? But she didn't do it out of she doesn't respect you. She was just able to see something that you wasn't able to see. You feel me? And she was willing to go the distance that you wasn't willing to go. But that was her job as a warrior. And that's the difference between him being a king and her being a general in the army. You feel me? Yeah. She like, I know what it takes to win wars. You just a king who I respect and I take orders from because you over everything. But when it comes to this army and fighting battles, you ain't out here. I know what it takes. I know what to get it done. And you know what? I go it alone. But her troopers, they not going to let her go it alone because they troopers too. And they like, that's my general. We're going to show up too, and we're going to get the job done. And they was all coming back willing to face the consequences because easily the king could have said, all y'all dead.
And that's life,
you feel me? Because y'all defy my orders.
Right. And that's I think that defines integrity. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever you believe in, whatever you value, you got to be willing to take the hit for that. Period. In the streets or wherever. Like, that's what you believe in, that's what you value, You got to be willing to sacrifice for it. And she was willing to sacrifice her life for what she believed in, regardless of what the outcome would have been. And the way he ruled or governed over everybody, a lot of people will look at as not king like, like, oh, he's scared to be looked at, as if he's scared to admit that he was wrong, so he just going along with whatever she do. When in actuality, what we're seeing, what I noticed from it was, just because you have the power to do something doesn't mean you should, because it's all about what's your end game. Your end game is to do what's best for thy homie, or your tribe, or your kingdom. So if that's what's best, even being defied, you got to make a choice to get behind that for the end game. Now, a king who's just drunk off power, he would have, off with your head, bitch. You defy me,
Yeah,
you know. But he's a king with a growth mindset and the right mindset, because there's different types of king. You don't make nobody else no less of a king because they behave differently. It's in their power. But a true king is all in how you behave with your power, because we all got power. You know, like if you walk towards somebody, they gonna move out the way. Something as small as that is power. Waking up in the morning, that's power. Brushing your teeth, doing something, exercising, all of that's exercising your power. You know, telling somebody to do something, they doing it for you, or asking somebody to do something, they doing it for you. Uh, Watching this video and it changes somebody's life, that's power. So it really shows the true character of a man based on how you behave with your power, and how he behaved with his was the right way. So, but, and another thing, everything we were speaking on is really completely beneath the surface of how the movie is defined.
yeah,
Like, you go on Google, they just say it follows the journey of General Naniska as she trains the next generation of recruits and readies them for battle against an enemy determined to destroy their way of life. Simple. But
yeah,
we just went beneath the surface to understand the deeper story of her being confronted with her past and being forced to face it head on. You spoke about that trauma, you know what I'm saying? And going up against her main nemesis is also her rapist, the one who created the trauma in the first place. And then the one in the middle
mhm,
is the daughter of both generals going to war, and her having to make amends by going to go rescue her daughter. She would never forsake her ever again. So I believe we really dug deeper beneath the surface of what the movie was about. But you go on Google, they just gonna give you that surface level explanation. And I love movies. You love movies. I love movies because it gives society its cues on how to behave in the world. Storytelling, it helps you to understand things. But the reason why these platforms are so important is because not everybody, two people can look at the same thing and interpret it two different ways. You know,
mhm,
I ain't gonna bring up another movie because it's not about that. We speaking on this movie, but I remember seeing movies as a kid, and then while I was in the pen, I'm watching it again now that I have more insight and education, and I'm like, damn, I never peeped that part. Or just music I used to listen to when I was a kid, and now I'm more elevated. I hear it again, I'm like, oh, he was really giving up game right there. But due to where my mindset was at the time that I heard it, I was selective
yeah,
in what I was picking from it.
yeah,
So I feel like that's why these platforms are important, and that's why we're doing this.
yeah. And I wanted to touch on too another key factor in in the movie. Beyond just trauma is decision making.
Right.
So Every living moment that you have that God gives you, God allows you to wake up. Obstacles are going to come your way, whether big or small. You have a decision to make. And that's what she was showing. And even her little daughter in the movie was showing that you have a decision to make. Because she was defying all type of orders throughout the movie, but those were her decisions. You feel me? Whether she realized the consequences that could come of those decisions are another thing, because I don't think she realized, and that's what happens in the hood. When we grow up, we don't really realize the consequences that could come from our decision making. We just thinking, oh, I know best, and this could be the best thing to do right now. But you making that decision can cause you to go to a dark place that you really don't want to go. You know, me speaking for myself, I made the choice to gang bang. You know, I made the choice at 12 years old to say, you know what, I'm gonna be a thug. At 13 years old, I say, you know what, I'm gonna make it official. And then from there, it just got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, to the point where now I'm 16 years old and I'm just shooting at people and popping people like it's nothing, to where I done caught an attempted murder case and got sent upstate for 25 years. You feel me? So that's all based on my decision making. Even though I was influenced by other people and other things, it still was based on my decision making. So just like when I was in prison, I chose to change my life. I chose to step away from the street lifestyle, from the gang lifestyle, and become a Muslim. That was part of my decision making, because I took the time to learn something different, and it led me in a different direction. So for everybody that's watching this and that's watching that movie, they could probably see that oh, it deals with decision making. When she defined the king, that was a decision she made. Just like when that king was choosing to put her on the pedestal and take her advice in a lot of areas, that was his decision. When he chose to have mercy upon her and the rest of the tribe warriors when they came back, that was his decision. You feel me? So these decisions that you make, they can either work for you or they can work against you. But it's better for you to take the time to try to think about what the consequences possibly could be before you make that decision.
Right.
So that's something that was key, I think, along with the trauma that was taking place in the movie, is your decision making, bro, and how it leads you to grow into somebody either better as a person, with far as your integrity, like you had mentioned, you know, your morality, your compassion, or just gonna turn you into more of a savage. You feel me? Because you can't pull, I would say you can't use darkness to try to get light. You feel me? You're using darkness. So if you continue to dive into that darkness, you're only gonna get more darkness. But if you dive into light, light is gonna begin to eradicate that darkness. So the more you dive into it, the more that the darkness is gonna get eradicated. The more that you can now see your way clear through life. You feel me? But if you continue to say, nah, you know what, I'm cool on the light, I like to be in the darkness. You know, it's kind of hot down here. It's humid, it's moist, and, you know, it's just grit and grimy. And this is where I thrive. You're gonna continue to get that. Then you wonder, why is my life not changing? Why am I not doing anything greater when I know I want to do something greater? That's because you continue to dive into that darkness. Maybe you should make a left turn and dive into some of this light. And then you will see that this light will begin to eradicate this darkness, and you will become something better than what you actually are. And I think that's what happened for me. And that's also what happened for her, because that little girl that came into her life who was defying her, was showing her a different way of doing things. And that's when it comes to that passing the torch. You know, some people like to hold on to their position for so long until they die, not realizing that, yeah, what you come with is working, but it's time for a new thing. You feel me? Be careful with the new thing that you grab onto, but at the same time, pay attention to it. It's time for a new thing. And that's what her daughter showed her. It's time for a new thing, a new way of thinking. You know, in order for us to survive, in order for us to continue to be strong, we got to start to, you know, switch this up a little bit. So her daughter already kind of being an independent thinker, just like a lot of us in the hood, we step on the scene, even though we followers, we still somewhat of independent thinkers. So you begin to carve your own path out to where the big homies are like, man, I'm going to pass you the torch. You feel me? But that's the same thing in business too. You step into a corporation and you a young individual. You might be fresh out of college. You might not be. You might just have the skills and they like you, so they bring you on board, but you're carving out your own path. Yeah, you following them because they earn their weight, but you an independent thinker. So now they like, oh, it's time to pass the torch to so and so. You feel me? Now you see yourself rising up the ranks and other people looking like, why is this dude? You feel, because when there's need to happen, he facing it head on, and he like, look, man, I know what to do, and I'm gonna go ahead and do it regardless of what you're talking about, because I have a mind too. It's not just about your mind, it's about my mind too, and I believe that I can add to the situation. And that's what she was doing, even though she wasn't really realizing she was doing it, because she was so immature when it comes to warfare and when it comes to relationships and how to handle protocol. But that's what she was doing. She was adding to the tribe in a way that the tribe hasn't really had it, because they so used to listening to the general. You
Right.
feel me? So it's man, my mind is racing right now. I can dive into
Right.
so much, just dealing with her daughter and how her daughter was just bringing so much to the table without her even realizing it though. And it made her mother better as a warrior. It made the tribe stronger. But not only, man, I want to bring up a scene that I saw, right? That I was like, ooh, it was good, it was touching, and a lot of people wouldn't have took this course, and all the warriors frowned upon her when she did it. Well, her friend got stuck in the thorns when they was doing a little obstacle,
Yeah, yeah.
and she went back for her. When she could have been in the front, but she went back for her. She said, no, this is my rollie, I'm gonna go back. She part of the team. No person get left behind. We in the war zone. If I can help you, I'm gonna help you. You
Exactly.
feel me? Because you still gonna be one soldier that's on our side in the fight. If I leave you for dead, you for sure dead. But if I go back for you, it's a chance that you still can wiggle up out of it, and we can continue to fight on. And you one body that's still on our side. And not only that, that brings that love,
Right.
to the table. That brings that camaraderie. So when she did that and she lost her pace at first, she helped her out. Then started to book it again for the race. But in the moment she was thinking, she made a decision. She said, okay, I can't continue to run this race in the normal fashion how everybody else is doing it, because I'm already behind. So I got to improvise. So what she did, she jumped off the wall. While old girl was climbing down the regular way, all comfortable, she said, no, I'm fit to take this leap, and jumped off that wall and landed, and that placed her in first place. Everybody was looking like, whoa, like, I can't believe she just did that. But that was an independent decision she made. She said, how can I get back in first, and how can I be on top? So when you in the battlefield of life, not just, from a physical standpoint of shooting guns or anything, just in life, it comes a point of time where you have to improvise and say, okay, I'm behind right now. What can I do to where I don't cause too much damage to myself, but I can get back ahead of the race and I can win for me and mine? And that's what she did.
Right.
She jumped off that wall. She, hurt herself a little bit, but she dusted off and she got with it. You
Yeah.
feel me? Went to face the other obstacles that was in front of her, used her skill set, and made it happen.
Yeah, and that
But that
fired
right
me
there, I
up
think,
too,
is very
because to me that's greatness, doing what the average person won't. You know, instead of taking
going
eh,
beyond them bounds, bro.
yeah, instead of taking one step at a time, sometimes you might have to take a leap. And they speak about that in entrepreneurship, that it's like jumping out the plane and then assembling the parachute. The parachute may not already be made, but how bad do you want it? And she wanted it bad enough to where she took that leap. Possibly could have broke her leg, broke her hip, and completely been dismantled. But let me take this chance because I want it that bad. So yeah, that was good. But we're gonna end right here. And is that it? That you wanted to touch on?
Oh, nah, it would never be it, because I'm a real life movie critic, and I could just go on and on with the movie of how it just made me think about my past when I was young and I was in the street life. And then not only that, me being the Muslim today, and the code of conduct that I live by today. You feel me? Giving all praise to God and making sure that I don't take no praise for myself. You feel me? Because when she was walking through, when she brought the females back home and everybody was giving her praise, and They told her, they here for you. Her mind is focused on, I don't even want your praise. You feel me? I'm just here to do a job. And as a Muslim, that's how I kind of operate through my life. I'm just here to do a job, which is to serve Allah. You feel me? If I do it well, alhamdulillah. But I'm just seeking his praise and his mercy, regardless of if you want to give me praise or not. I don't care about that. My mind is focused on doing the next thing so I can be an obedient servant. And that's what she was looking to do, be an obedient servant and get the job done. So it's different aspects of the movie that I can definitely touch on, even at the end, when they finally conquered everything, and she was willing to not verbally admit, but just with her actions, that she understands she didn't do everything right. And she recognized another warrior when she see it. You feel me? Which was her daughter. And at the end, her daughter stood with her. You feel me? And another, man, it's so much because something else is popping into my mind.
Yeah, we're gonna touch on many more movies after this, because I gotta skip. I gotta hit the road right now. But I appreciate you.
It's Abdul Ghaffar, which means
Ghaffar.
the servant of the forgiver.